Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Max Velocity weather forecast. And in today's forecast, we have a lot to talk about, including a very concerning storm that's on the horizon that's going to bring the risk for significant severe weather to parts of the United States. On the flip side of things, this will also bring a cold blast and perhaps blizzard-like conditions to parts of the United States. I'll be giving you the latest breakdown on everything that you need to know in this forecast, and let's begin with what this storm will actually do here in the United States. And the Storm Prediction Center has already issued a slight risk for severe weather heading into Saturday of this upcoming weekend. Notice that slight risk of severe weather includes parts of Arkansas, East Texas, Louisiana, and even western Mississippi, with all modes of severe weather being possible, including damaging winds, large hail, and even a few tornadoes. We'll be watching for this threat of severe weather to even continue into Sunday. And I mean, that's not all with this storm, because we will also be watching for the threat of a winter storm, perhaps even a blizzard, across parts of the Midwest, maybe even the Ohio Valley. This will be the area to watch for in particular as we go into Saturday, but I do want to mention that this could shift further down to the south, west, east, or north. It has been shifting a little bit here over the last 24 hours. Initially, we thought that this might be a bit further to the east. It's now pushed a bit further back to the west. So again, that's going to be something that we're going to be talking about as well in this forecast, and we'll be talking about that here in just about a minute. Here's what we're looking at in the United States today. A couple of interesting features. We have a ridge that is dominating those southwest United States right now, and we also have our atmospheric river event that's occurring in the Pacific Northwest. That's where we're seeing upwards of a foot of rain over the next 7 days. Just crazy stuff. But this ridge is basically responsible for the moisture staying all up here to the north. And then we also have a little disturbance that just went through the Midwest overnight into the morning hours today. Very light snow is coming out of this. It's really not much. It's a very, very, very minimal system that's moving across the Northeast as well as the Mid-Atlantic region. And we also have a cold front that has pushed through parts of the Southeast. We still have some moisture going into Florida, but overall nothing too crazy down that direction. And real quickly, I did want to give a huge thank you to everybody that has subscribed to this channel. We just officially reached 80,000 subscribers, something I never imagined that would happen here on YouTube, so I really do appreciate all of your support. It means the world to me, and thank you guys so much for watching these forecasts on a daily basis. Now let's go back to the weather forecast, because this is going to get pretty interesting as we go into this weekend with this large storm. And right now, again, it's not very active. We have very minimal activity here in the United States. The only areas that really have anything ongoing that is really materialized into like some sort of significant event would be the Pacific Northwest, where we have the flooding that's ongoing, and then back over on the East Coast we have some very minimal rain showers. But once we go into Thursday into Friday, that is when things will begin to get very interesting here across the United States. So beginning with Thursday night, we'll have a low pressure system back over in the northern plains, and you might be thinking this is the large storm that you were talking about previously, right? Actually, no, this is not even the large storm that we're talking about. This is a completely separate storm that'll be moving across the northern plains, perhaps with some winter storm potential in parts of North Dakota and Montana, and this might bring a little cool down to parts of the northern plains. But again, that's not the large storm that we're really talking about here. The large storm is going to develop going into late Friday night into Saturday across the central plains. Notice all the cold air advection behind this. It's going to get pretty chilly on the backside of this low pressure system, but for what we're looking at with this low pressure system going into Friday night to Saturday morning, some showers and even a few thunderstorms will be associated with this back through parts of Oklahoma and as well as Texas. Once we go through Saturday, this storm is going to grow in size pretty quickly. So this is by Saturday around lunchtime. We are looking at the storm to grow across a very large area from the Gulf Coast back into the Great Lakes region. Notice behind this, there might even be a little bit of wintry precipitation going into Saturday in the Midwest. But what's really going to get interesting is going into Saturday night, where we're going to be watching for a severe weather potential across parts of the lower Mississippi Valley and as well as East Texas. And this would be the area to watch for damaging winds, large hail, and maybe even a few tornadoes. And again, notice behind this, I can't stress this enough, that we will have the potential for some very high winds behind this. To look at these sharp contours that are on the backside of this low pressure system. Additionally, we have a lot of cold air advection. This is going to start to cool down the atmosphere if you're right behind this large storm. We're going to see a cold front obviously move through with this, and temperatures will go below average as we go into Sunday for much of the Great Plains. This is as we go into Sunday morning. This storm continues to grow in size, and it also strengthens down to 998 millibars. That's at least what the European model's thinking. And notice back down in the southeast, that's where showers and storms will continue, perhaps even some severe weather still ongoing in the southeast. By the time we go into Sunday morning, that is when things could get interesting with the winter storm. We might see some sort of winter storm grow out of this low pressure system, and if we do, we will likely see several inches of snow across parts of the Midwest. But this is not probably going to last a whole lot of time. It might last like 12 12 hours or so across the Midwest, but it looks like this will be some pretty heavy snow, so that'll accumulate pretty quickly. And again, we're still a few days out, so where this falls is still a bit uncertain. It might fall in the Midwest, it might fall a bit further to the west of what it's showing here, might even fall a bit further to the east, so just keep that in mind. Notice as we go into late Sunday night into Monday morning, that snow continues across Canada, and we very easily will probably see some blizzard-like conditions across Canada. And if you notice, the isobars are very tight and together. That would indicate that the wind gust could easily be very high out of this, upwards of 50 to 60 miles per hour, and that could trigger some blizzard-like conditions. Here's a bit more of the setup on this severe weather event. Notice the jet stream. We're going to get a very strong southwesterly flow across the lower Mississippi Valley going into Sunday. Really intense low pressure system, by the way, in the European model. Again, this will likely be the largest storm that we'll see all December long. Just incredible what we're seeing on the future radar. And also, here's the low-level jet. This gives us an idea of the rotation that we can expect at the lower levels. Basically, this would give us an indication on the tornado potential in a way, because the low-level jet does control some of that aspect. And once we go into late Saturday into Sunday, the low-level jet will start to crank across parts of Louisiana and Mississippi, upwards of 40 to 50 knots, and that would be enough to trigger at least a few tornadoes across the lower Mississippi Valley, and again, a southwesterly flow. We'll probably also get some high winds as this moves into the northeast going into Sunday. Here's the instability. This has been a bit of a question mark. What days would we see severe weather and where? Going into Friday night, there might be some isolated severe weather in southeast Oklahoma, perhaps northeast Texas. I'm not overly confident it's going to be anything that significant. I think more than anything, it'll just be a couple of isolated supercells. Going to Saturday, though, that's when things get a little bit more dicey. We'll have enough instability up and down from Missouri all the way back to Texas for there to be severe weather. We might even see some very isolated severe storms back up in parts of central Illinois, which is a bit rare for this time of the year, but there will be instability up there, so that could trigger maybe an isolated storm or two to be severe. And then once we go into Sunday, there will not be much instability, but there will be enough for there to maybe be a little bit of isolated severe weather right along the East Coast, so Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and maybe North Carolina as well. And here's the dew points. This gives us an idea again of the moisture. Notice we'll have a pretty sharp area of moisture stretching from areas like the Midwest back into Texas. Dew points into the low to mid 60s. This is the most favorable for severe weather. A lot less favorable for severe weather back up into the Midwest, but there is enough moisture there for there to maybe be an isolated storm or two that could go severe. That could stretch again, maybe up closer to Chicago. It should just stay south of Chicago, though, if there were to be any severe weather. And even if there was any on Saturday, it would be a pretty isolated threat. There will be enough moisture on Sunday as well for there to be some severe weather in the southeast United States as well. And over the next week or two, we are going to have some warm weather for the most part. Above average temperatures expected for much of the country. Once we go into Sunday and Monday, we will get a little cold blast behind that low pressure system. Surprisingly, it's not going to be nearly as large as you might expect, but temperatures will go below average for much of the United States going to Sunday into Monday. But by Tuesday into Wednesday, warmer weather will return for much of the country. And as we go into late next week, things will become uncertain by that point. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit the like button down below and subscribe if you've not already.